Spark the brain, 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 spark the brain. We here. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. It's the third round, RPB. I don't know if they ready for this one, man. We gotta switch it up on them a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? Have a seat at the master's table. We ain't asked for no seat. We went and built up our own. You see, it's rather stable. You got 2 eyes, 2 ears, you know the rest. Look, listen, and observe, but also respect. In God we trust. It's obvious. The money ain't the root of all evil, but lack thereof. That's why they deprive you of resources. Why they focus on streams of income, at least 3 sources. We certified, we solidified. And they say they created hip-hop, but all that shit is lies. Cause every element came before the development of what we callin' hip-hop now. It's all relevant to all the topics we gon' touch on. Spoiler alert, as you play this album, ain't no club songs. Boy, that hurt, but this ain't no conscious album. It's just that real shit, that Black God mantra album. I hope y'all feel this. Spark the brain, 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 spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. My mind is spark the brain, spark the brain.
The masters, the masters, the masters, the masters.
Peace, family. Thank you guys for joining us. We need just a couple of more minutes. We finished getting set up here. And so while I play these next couple of ads, if you guys could share this out on your social media platforms, let everybody know that we're going to be live chopping it up with Dr. KABA KAMENE tonight. So it's going to be definitely an exciting episode for the family. Share this out. Let everybody know that we're going to be live. I'm going to let these ads play and while we get things set up, and we'll be right back with y'all. All right? Peace, God.
Hey, Dad. He's so good.
Hey, man, I got you a new book.
A new book?
Check it out. Check it out. Let me know how you like it. I'll be back. Man, this Bitcoin, this Ethereum ain't doing nothing for me right now, man. Gotta find some new investments.
Peace, God. What you doing?
Peace, God. Good.
I think this book is kind of inappropriate.
Inappropriate? What's up with it?
It's inappropriate because look at these.
LGBT. Oh, man, I'm sorry about that, God.
I accept your apology.
Man, it's a shame, man. You can't even find no decent books for you nowadays without having to have these difficult conversations.
I have an idea. Maybe
that?
we should make a series of our own book.
A book series? That is a good idea.
7 volumes.
7, I get it. 7 volumes. What should we call it?
7 the Super Hey-Roo.
Perfect. 7 the Super Hey-Roo.
And then maybe we could even make some bundles of it once we get to volume 3.
Oh, see, now you're thinking like a businessman. I like that idea, man. A foundational Black American children's series.
Perfect.
Visit www.godcastbooks.com and pre-order your book today.
Peace. This is the Black Dot, father, author, writer, poet, MC, one half of the dynamic duo, the #1 father and son podcast, Urban X TV. I am super excited about the new release, The Master's Table, by Sincere Love the God and RP Beats. This album is going to be crazy. It's the follow-up to The Spear and The Shield. Already know what time it is. It's got some dope pieces on it. You're going to love it. Also on the album is yours truly, The Black Dot. So you want to go to The Masters RSVP and secure your copy now. They got a bundle package. You get a backdrop, you get a poster, you get the digital download, you get the physical copy, you get a hoodie. The whole process is really crazy. So RSVP to Masters RSVP, and you can get that dope album, My Sincere Love to God and RP Beats, The Master's Table. You will never be disappointed at how dope this project is going to be. Peace.
Have a seat at the master's table. We ain't asked for no seat. We went and built up our own. You see, it's rather stable. You got 2 eyes, 2 ears, you know the rest. Look, listen, and observe, but also respect. In God we trust. It's obvious. The money ain't the root of all evil, but lack thereof. That's why they deprive you of resources. Why they focus on streams of income, at least 3 sources. We certified, we solidified. And they say they created hip-hop, but all that shit is lies. Cause every element came before the development of what we callin' hip-hop now. It's all relevant to all the topics we gon' touch on. Spoiler alert, as you play this album, ain't no club songs. Boy, that hurt, but this ain't no conscious album. It's just that real shit, that Black God mantra album. I hope y'all feel this.
Grace and peace, Black family. This is Vicky Dillard, your sister with the curly braids. And I want you to get ready for the new Master Elements project, The Spear and the Shield.
This vaccine isn't experimental. It's like a dandelion. You overlook it for they weird science.
DJ RP Beats and Sincere Love the God have taken this time during the pandemic to carefully craft the soundtrack to Black empowerment with hot tracks like God Mine, featuring Sadat X of the legendary group Brand Nubians.
We never die. I made an ancestral shrine. Let's see what's in the God's mind. Listen, I'm a law in the person of Sincere Love the God. That mean your arms too short like Carl Anthony Shaw.
God painted me black.
God painted me black. Thanks for that. I'm a bitch.
A letter to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
I say to the ancestors. Dear Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, I just wanted to thank you for all the lessons you left us. So yes, I'm more than grateful.
And the controversial song, Buck Breaking God Today.
Why every black show they gotta have a transgender? Either I'm crazy or this gotta be a planned agenda.
Get ready, Black family. This is a much needed project. This is The Spear and the Shield.
Peace,
All right,
peace.
all right,
There you
all
are.
right. Let's see.
There you are.
Let's see if we can make this thing work and make it do what it's supposed to do.
Right now, right?
You know what I
There
mean?
he is. Y'all know he had me stressed out if you only knew.
All right, let me peace family. What's going on? What's going on, everybody? We are here. Welcome to another special episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. This is not the Black Business Showcase. Let me change this. Let me change this background here. Got a lot of switching up to do over here. Let me see. Let's go to our normal joint. Which one can we use? Oh, I'm in the wrong. Hold on. Let me see if I can switch this while we live. Hold on. Am I able to do that? Oh yeah, I'm able to do that. Okay.
You're able to do that.
Boom. It's not the Decoded series, so I'm not going to use that background.
But what it is though,
we could use this background. How about that?
yes,
We
because
could use this one or this one. Let me ask the family. Let me ask the family in the chat. Let me ask the family in the chat. I didn't have time to get things set up the way that I wanted to get them set up, but these are the banners that we have available. I mean, the backgrounds that we have available right now. So do y'all like this one? Remember, we're gonna have a third image on the screen also. So this one is really built for just us two right here, but we can still use it. This one or this one. Which one does the family prefer? Y'all let me know in the chat as we get this thing started. Let me hit up our guest, our esteemed guest for this evening, Dr. KABA. Let him know that we are here. Okay, he said he doesn't see the email. Let me make sure I sent the email to the right place. Let me copy this.
yeah, I saw it. He was on it.
Yeah, all right. Let me resend it. Let me resend it. Boom. Yeah. That should be him. Okay. Subject line is Godcast. Link. Boom. Go ahead. That's the StreamYard joint right there. All right. Let me let them know. We sent it.
Oh wow, this is so amazing.
What's that?
Just this episode alone, having him here is so amazing. As I said on my live today, for those that tuned in, I've had the opportunity, the pleasure of meeting him many times at some of Tariq's event, of course at the FBA Expo, and his energy is amazing. He's a super amazing, dope person, and of course, a master teacher. I was introduced to him, I'll say around 2014, 15, maybe around that time, and been locked in ever since. So I'm stoked right now.
Right. Yeah, likewise, man. I had the pleasure to meet the brother a few times. Recently at the event that he had here at JB's Record Store, I think it was called. He had a book signing at JB's Record Store in Atlanta. And then again at the FBA Expo. Also met him at the first FBA thing here in Atlanta also too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Present screen. What you mean?
Present screen. Here it comes.
Present screen. So that's this one. This was the one that y'all picked. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, when you said present screen, I was like, here he come.
Oh no, I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at the chat.
Here he comes.
I think this is the screen. I think this is the background right here that we're gonna use for tonight. But anyway, like we were saying, y'all, we got all right, right on time. Just as I'm about to let y'all know and remind y'all who our guest for this evening is, our brother pops up backstage. So we can go on ahead and get ready to get this thing started. But again, family, before we get started, like this video.
Yes,
When
please.
you like the video, it sends a signal to YouTube that people actually like the video, they're engaging with the video. That kind of incentivizes YouTube to show it to people who are not necessarily subscribed to our channel. It gives us more of a reach when you like the video. When you share the video, that also sends the same type of signal to YouTube. And actually, you don't even, I just learned this. Shout out to my brother over at TD Hip Hop. I just learned that even if you don't share the link, if you just copy the link, YouTube reads it as if it's a share. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't know if you put it on Twitter or if you put it on Instagram or not. So some of y'all be like, I ain't got no followers. I ain't sharing this. Ain't nobody checking it on my timeline. But just copy the link. Copy the link, and it does the same type of thing. But for those of y'all that really rock with us, y'all know what to do, man. Share this on share this on Facebook, share this on Twitter. Let everybody know that we live, and we got Dr. KABA joining us tonight to chop up the game. So without further ado, man, let's get our brother on the screen, man. Let us introduce to you the master teacher, Professor KABA KAMENE is on the godcast.
All right, Hotep family, Hotep. Yes. So happy to be here with you.
And we're happy to have you. Some wonderful.
Thanks for the invite. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
We are
so glad that you took the time to be here with us, man. We've been looking forward to this ever since we seen you at the FBA Expo in Dallas, which was a wonderful event, you know, as far as our experience down there. But tell us, how was the FBA Expo for you?
Brother, it was excellent. I think that Tariq really put a great program together. It exposed so many of us. Well, for instance, myself with all of y'all and the work that you're doing. It's about networking and coming to know each other and getting to just share that time together. And with the lineup that he had so many great people there. It was just a really great time to be together with our people and being able to share the business aspect. And I just really appreciate it, because this is where we have to be right now at this point in history. We already know what we got to do. Now it's time for like minds to come together and do what we have to do for our children and for the future of what it is that we have to do.
Yes, indeed. This is true.
And the venue itself was amazing. I love the whole setup of the venue. The only thing that we've all agreed on is when certain people were speaking in certain areas, if there was like a speaker that can make announcements for that would have been great. But otherwise, it was an amazing experience for us. That was the day that we showcased our first children's book series. So that was our official launch. So that was amazing. We had so much love. So many people in the family showed us so much love on that day. And of course, I got to see you again.
Yes. It was phenomenal.
Yes.
And I just look forward, because I was at his, it wasn't really an expo at this time, but it was at the height of the pandemic. It was September of 2020 when he had a piece in Atlanta. And then say again.
I met you there also.
Okay. And then February, when he opened up the Hidden History Museum. You were there. So we all know what these events are like.
Yes.
And I think that Tariq and those that follow him and support him, they're the future of what it is that we have to do. You take your generation's energy and you also blend it with just a number of different things, and it's just coming out really very positive. So it's a good time,
Yes, indeed. And I want to thank your son too, Hayru Nasset, for picking this up and helping us make this possible for you to be here with us tonight. So shout out to my brother, Hayru Nasset. Appreciate you, King.
Yes. There's no doubt. He is. As I've watched him grow through the years, he is just a phenomenal. Like I tell him, I don't always tell him this, but I tell him, I couldn't afford him for his talent and what he does in terms of, I call him my textpert. But the other thing is that he and I represent exactly what it is that we're talking about. People build nations, but families build dynasties. Nations rise and fall, but dynasties last forever. And I think that Heru, you know, there's a song, Glory, that was in the film about Martin Luther King. It's Common and John Legend.
Yeah.
And there's something that Common says. He says that it's the energy of the younger and the wisdom of the elder.
Yes.
You know, and you see, when you mature and you go through life, you take things not at the same pace when you were young. You know, you understand certain situations and you begin to develop it from a more cautious perspective. You always hope to stay on target, but there are things that I know now where I am in my life that if you go back years, I would have been far more aggressive. But now Heru, he's the aggressive. So between what I'm doing and what he's doing, he pushes me to act quicker, and I hold him back so we can do it right. And together, it's really quite a team. And so I appreciate Harun Nasset for all that he does and for all that he reflects in terms of the work that we're doing. And he represents exactly what it is that I'm talking about when I'm looking at the younger generation and the things that we have to do as a people. So shout out to my brother.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'd like you to expound a little bit more on that, because when you were speaking about that, it reminded me of a clip with Tupac. Were you there? Wait, were you in that clip with Tupac? Did you meet Tupac before?
I've never met Tupac, but I think you're talking about when he was at the Indianapolis or the Indiana Black Expo.
Maybe.
And he and Dr. Khaled was there.
Dr. Khaled was there. Yes, that's the clip.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about because I know the people that did that. In fact, that expo is happening this weekend.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
July 8th.
So yeah, because you know Tupac was going in. You know what I'm saying? He had that young, that youthful energy that you're talking about, and there were a lot of elders in the room.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Who were pretty much past that period where, you know, they were approaching things a little bit differently. And he was kind of calling them out like, wait, don't tell me to chill. When y'all was young, y'all was turned up. It's my turn to be turned up right now.
Yeah.
And so I want you to speak on that dynamic and how we need to fuse those two things together.
Absolutely. In fact, pretty much what I just said about Harun Nasset and myself. You know, there's a gospel song that says, keep your lamp lit but trim. You know, and when I was young, you know, when I look at Harun Nasset, I see me from a different perspective because I was on fire. And I said things and did things very differently than I do now. I've learned certain ways to get things across. But when I was younger, I was on fire and I didn't want to hear nothing. Okay. And so what we have to do as the elder population, here's what I think, and I think, family, this is what has shaped me as I've gone along. I spent my life with children. For those that may not know, I was a school teacher here in New York, South Central Bronx. When I started teaching in 1979, the number one song on the radio was Rapper's Delight. Okay. I was an assistant principal down the block from Sedgwick Avenue where Kool Herc used to have his house party. When I was going home and I would be driving home, I used to pass the people ready to go to the house parties at Kool Herc's place. So that the flavor of being young, the one thing that I think has guided me was I never forgot what it's like to be young. Because I was always around young people. I watched hip hop grow in the Bronx. I walked the streets in the Bronx. I watched it grow. And hip hop comes out of our generation. It comes out of the Gil Scott Herons. It comes out of the Nikki Giovanni's and the Sonia Sanchez's and the Last Poets. And even before that, it came from other folks such as, much respect to Nipsey Hussle, there was a brother named Nipsey Russell, who in The Wiz was the Tin Man.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Nipsey Hussle named himself Nipsey Russell after having been exposed to the genius of Nipsey Russell. And so everything is built on the step before. As you on this journey, as you move forward, every one of your steps, if you backtrack it, you're in the past. And so the relationship between myself and young people has always been fresh. And because I started as a kindergarten teacher in New York, 1979, moving through the process, started teaching college, I've seen our people at every step of their life, from pre-kindergarten to graduating from graduate school. So I've seen our people, and I've watched this as it's gone through. And I just think that we are a phenomenal people.
Yes.
We just don't realize it because we're in the middle, we're in the hurricane. So we're going through the rain and the wind and the tornadoes. But when you are in the eye of the hurricane, where it's calm, you can see all aspects of what's going on. We are in a better position than we've ever been before. Evidence of it, just what we're doing right here. This is evidence of where we've come. And when you see them doing that stuff in Florida and in Texas, and you see them coming down on us, Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, once told me, because he visited a college that I was going to. He came and we were there with him. We were students sitting with the brother. And I remember he told us, always remember, the closer you get to the creator, the closer the devil is going to get to you.
Mm.
All these attacks on us right now, it's because we win it.
Right.
And we have to understand that. We have to understand that we are in a position right now. The younger generation is on fire. And what I say to you is, don't put that fire out. Keep it ablaze, but keep it trimmed. Because even a wonderful fire ablaze can cause a forest fire if you lose control.
Mm-hmm.
But don't ever lose that fire. Keep it going, keep it, and let people know. You know, Dr. Khalid, whom I consider to be a friend of mine, I met him through Alton Maddox, the great lawyer. We called him the attorney at war, the warrior at law, Attorney Maddox. He just joined the Ancestors not too long ago. He used to have a lecture series called the United African Movement. And I spoke there, and Dr. Khalid spoke there at times. And I remember he would attend my presentation, Dr. Khalid, and I would attend his, but I never knew him. I never knew him personally. But when I got to meet Dr. Khalid, unbeknownst to some people, he was one of the kindest, softest spoken people you want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And if he suffered from anything, he loved our people so much that he empathically was able to take in their pain.
Mm.
Mm.
And that becomes very important. And he used to say to me, you know, brother, I don't talk like you. And I used to say, you know, brother, I don't talk like you. But people need to hear what an angry black man sound like.
Right.
They need to hear you. They need to understand that there is a segment of our population that feels the way you feel.
Indeed.
And rightfully so.
Absolutely. And they're going to pay a price. So I walk with and embrace the younger people. And as I work with them, as they may reach out to me and I talk to them in any way that I can, I just keep them to tell them to keep on doing what you're doing and do it your way.
Right. Can I ask you, was there a major life journey that got you to where you are now, from being a teacher, you know, a principal, and now master teacher to us, right? African studies, spirituality, numerology is like, you're just a ball of information. What journey got you here?
Family, I have to tell you that I was always on this journey, and so are y'all. It's important to understand that, you see, when you get to a certain point, you look back, you can understand that everything, that I have no regrets for anything that happened. I got history, family. You know, I was born and raised in a project in New York, came through the process, was exposed to all the things that young brothers and young sisters would be exposed to in projects. And as I navigated my life, I look back and I did not make one mistake. Because if I had changed anything that I did, I would not be sitting here talking to great people like y'all. I have no regrets. I tell people have no regrets because your life journey is where you are. I tell people have a 10-year plan and always be walking towards that plan. Now, you may not, that 10-year plan may not be where you end up in 10 years. But if you're walking in the direction of the plan, there will be people, there will be events, there will be places that will impact you, that will then guide you to where you need to be in your life, your divine gift. Each and every one of us is born with a divine gift. Even before we're born, we are assigned a job to do. We are born in order to fulfill it. The challenge is that within each and every one of us, there is a Judas and a Messiah. And the Judas is born within us to make sure we don't fulfill our divine gift. The Messiah is born to make sure Judas fails. So Judas may fall 9 times, but the Messiah will rise 10. So you never give up. Failure is not when you fail. Failure is when you don't try. Winners never lose. They either win or they learn how to win next time.
Like that.
And so for me, I've always been on this journey now, but to answer more specifically, some of the guideposts in my life was being exposed to the greatness of someone such as Professor John Henry Clark at a very young age. Being exposed to members of the Black Panther Party. I was 12 going on 13 when the Black Panther Party was formed. The same brothers and sisters that brought me up to meet Professor Clark also brought me to Black Panther meetings as a cub, where I learned my first words in Kiswahili through the Black Panther Party and the Saturday education. Some people, when they think of the Black Panther Party, immediately they think of the guns. Mm-hmm. They think of the self-defense, which is there, and it was necessary to be there. When I think of the Black Panther Party, I think of all the brothers and sisters, not too much older than me, 18, 19, 20, that would sit us around and teach us our culture and teach us about the same thing that I did with children when I was a teacher is what they did for me. And so my guidepost would be Professor John Henry Clark. It would be the Black Panther Party. Because when I saw those brothers and sisters walk into the legislature in California with guns, I ain't never been the same since.
Right.
Because up until then, we shall overcome. Nothing wrong with that if you go that way. We was marching. But when I saw them brothers and sisters with them black jackets and those berets and them rifles slung, I said, this is a new day right here. I was young, but it left such an impression on me. It just changed the way I think. It broke down. And between that and the Nation of Islam, because you've got Malcolm X coming up. You've got the Honorable Elijah Muhammad coming in. And you have the breakdown of the iconoclastic. Somebody called me an iconoclast one time. I had to look that word up. Icon means image and class means to break. An image breaker. And that's what the Black Panther Party did. They broke the image of white supremacy for me. From watching them dogs eating our people down south, fire hoses on them, okay? That's one way of looking at our experience. But to see them walk in that legislature with guns, it was a whole new day for me. It broke the image of white supremacy for me.
I live in California.
Say again?
I'm from and live in California, and those gun laws that they implemented since that has not changed at all.
Okay. This is where we are right now. So those are the things. And then, of course, the most important experience that I had was to get my license in early childhood and teach kindergarten children. Because when we know something about children, if you ever want to really know about yourself, hang around 5-year-olds for a while. They'll tell you about yourself. They'll read you better than any adult could ever read you. They're better psychiatrists. They'll tell you about yourself. And the success I have in being able to communicate to our people comes from my exposure to our 5-year-olds and our 6-year-olds. Because when you're a kindergarten teacher, you can't assume that that child knows what you're talking about. You walk in the class and say, okay, today we're going to add 1 + 1. Okay, you can't assume that that child knows 1. They may not know what the symbol plus means. Mm-hmm. And they don't know what the equal sign means. So you got to break it down in a way that you can be very clear. Malcolm used to say, make it plain. And out of that experience of always breaking things down to its lowest common denominator to express has allowed me to talk to our community, to use the kind of words, the sentences, the structure, to be able to present to the community certain ideas and concepts. And so I think those experiences going through the process, and also I don't pay back. I pay forward. I don't do what I do for the ancestors. The ancestors did a great job doing for us. In fact, they did for us so I could do for the children. So I don't pay them back for what they did. I pay forward to the children to do what I'm doing, that what our ancestors did.
Indeed, indeed. So obviously, you know, the curriculums here in the school systems are changing a lot. I'm for, you know, homeschooling. I homeschooled my son just for a couple years in middle school. And because he was homeschooled, they wouldn't allow him to play sports. So I had to allow him to go back to the public school system for his high school years. But I was happy that I was able to indoctrinate him, you know, the best that I could on my own before, you know, they start implementing all this, I guess, gender stuff, LGBT, et cetera, et cetera. How do you feel about parents homeschooling versus, you know, keeping them in the public school sector?
All of our children, our 2 daughters and our son, all went to the public school system. But I homeschooled.
I like that.
I sent my children to school to learn how to socialize with other human beings. But before our first daughter was born, I already had the library in the house. The books that I would read from. Mufaro's Beautiful Daughter. There is a rich library today for our children. But 30-something years ago, that library wasn't as expansive as it is today. So that I've always seen myself, and I always let my children know, I'm your teacher. Okay? Life is school. When you're home, this is school. Mm-hmm. It's not just that building that you go through to between 8 and 3 or whatever the time was. And so out of that concept, I homeschooled the children. And to me, it didn't make a difference what they taught the children in school, because there are experiences in the real world that they're going to face.
Right.
But like you said, it's up to us to teach our children. It's up to us. And we have the wherewithal to do it. I work with homeschoolers. There's a phenomenal conference called Liberated Minds Expo in Atlanta, July 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. A lot of great things are happening there. Sister Queen Thais has been doing this for a number of years. I believe this is the first time that they're doing it live since the virus was with us. And so I believe in homeschooling. In Chicago, the Freedom Home Academy with Brother Marcus Klein. While he has his own African-centered school, he also incorporates virtual learning with people outside to be able to get the richness of his curriculum in place. There's another brother, Kamali Academy.
I know that one.
And he's got great curriculum materials that will expose children to language arts, the 4 major subjects: language arts, social studies, science, and math. He has curriculum that can enrich it from an African perspective. So instead of reading stories about little boys and dogs and cats and all the rest of that, he Africanizes language arts. He Africanizes mathematics, science, social studies. And that is what I've attempted to do in the curriculums that I've written, to Africanize it. Because we taught them education.
Right.
And they got it all wrong. They got it all wrong. This system right here, this system is so contaminated. A brother named Wade Nobles, brilliant scholar out of California, he says, what we're experiencing in Western civilization, and I'm looking directly at education. You can apply this to spirituality. You can apply this to politics. You can apply this to any subject area, but I'm going to do it in education. He says it's vomit. What you're dealing with is vomit. And the concepts that he's saying is don't throw the vomit away. Examine it. Because in that vomit is the original meal. When the Greeks sat down to learn from the Cushites how to educate, language, math, when they sat before our ancestors in Kush, they got it twisted. They didn't have the intellectual enzymes to digest the food. So like any rich meal that you don't have enzymes to digest, to bring the protein to your body, you regurgitate it. And that's what Western civilization is. It's vomit. But don't throw the vomit away. Examine it, because in that vomit is the original meal. We have the enzymes to break it down. And that's what we're doing now.
Right.
We're breaking it down in order to recook the original meal that our Kushite ancestors, because we have the richness of the enzymes to break that meal down and to be able to build the types of societies. Because, you know, Indo-European societies have never lasted more than 500 years at a time.
If that.
And if that, I'm giving credit for the longest one, which is the one we're in now.
Wow.
Right.
And the reason why this has lasted so long was because of the enslavement of African people. That is what has extended it from 1492. But when you look at the original Indo-Europeans that came in, Cambyses and the Persians come in, they come in at 525 BC. They last up until 332 BC. And so basically you're not dealing with too much time here. 525 to 332 BC. And then in 332 BC, the Greeks come in, destroy the Persians and take over Kush. And then by 30 BC, the Romans come in. That's a little over 300 and something years. And then the Romans take over 30 BC. The Roman Empire is falling. Some people want to say 532. They were really on their way out at 426 BC, but that's okay. They were on their way out. The Roman Empire was falling 426. And so and then Europe fell into darkness until Moors came in 710. Africans brought back civilizations. They had a renaissance, which is rebirth. And so then you have this civilization that is now going to be grounded in the Africans, the Moors, and that's going to create Western civilization. 1492, they get on the waters that Africans brought them on, and here we are today. And every civilization that they've created that has fallen for the same exact reason. They're incompetent.
Right.
They are totally incompetent to the task at hand that nature has demanded of us to join with nature in order to create a more perfect union. For everybody to go for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They even got that from us. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
What haven't they stole?
And got wrong. I wouldn't mind it if you stole it and got it better.
Right.
But you stole it and messed the whole thing up.
It's not their assignment. It's not
That's
their assignment. It's ours.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? But I want you to make a comparison. So, you know, they had their couple of civilizations that lasted 3, 4, almost 500 years. Compare that to some of the civilizations that we had and how long they were in place.
Oh, well, when you consider what they call the first dynasty, I don't call it the first dynasty, but for understanding what I'm saying, the first dynasty, when you look at, there were 6 dynasties in the Old Kingdom. Okay, 6 families ruled Europe for over 2,200 years. That's just the first dynasty. That's 2,200 years compared to 500 years.
You mean Kush Kemet, not
Kush
Europe,
Kemet,
right?
yes, Kush Kemet,
Yeah.
Africans. Because you see, Egypt doesn't exist. Egypt is a word created that was a contamination of a Greek word. That Greek word was a corruption of an African word. The original name for this land was the capital. It was called Hekapatah, Hekapatah, Hekapatah. That's what was called, and it means the spirit or the essence of the creator netter or the creator God. Patah. Heka is the spirit, the essence, the will of the creator. God's will, so to speak, if you want to speak English. When the Greeks came in, they looked at this word Hekapatah and they corrupted it to Egupatos. So HE became AI, KA became GU, and PTAH became PTOS. Hekapatah, the original name, it was the cat. It's like if somebody came to America and named America, the whole country, Washington, D.C. They got it wrong even there. And so Hekapatah became Egupatos, became Egypt. So the AI became E. The GU became GY, and the PTOS became PT, Egypt, from Egupatos, from Hekapatah. So Egypt doesn't exist. It's just a word that was given by people that invaded the land and called the country what the name of the capital was.
Right.
Okay, and so the people who came into Hekapatah came from the southern lands or the Kushites. So what we call this is why I say I don't really consider it the first dynasty, is because what is called the first dynasty is only a continuation of the dynasties of Kush. So it's not a first dynasty. It's a first dynasty from their perspective. But from an African perspective, it was the Kushites that traveled from south to north. There's evidence of this. Traveling from Sudan, or what was called Nubia, in a place called Qustal, Qustal. There's evidence of Africans here. Qustal, they then moved to Edfu, which is in what we call southern Egypt or southern Kush Kemet. And then from Edfu, the land of Peru, they then move up into Hekapatah and build Hekapatah. These are Kushites.
So it's already old. By the time they're calling this the first dynasty, the civilization is already old.
It's already old. The Meduneter, or what's called hieroglyphs, has already been formed. It's been developed over years. Now, Meduneter is the good word. Medunefer means the good speech. But the reality of it is that the Greek language doesn't exist. The Greek, the way we get the Greek language is there's a document known as the Rosetta Stone. This is how they started to translate Meduneter back in the late 1700s. Because it comes in 3 languages. The top language, and it's in 3 layers. The first layer of the Rosetta Stone is in Meduneter or hieroglyphs. The second is in the more common language, the hieratic language, which is more of a script of the Meduneter. The third language is what they call classical Greek, but that's not classical Greek. That's another African writing system that the Greeks adopted. Now, let me take us one step further. If that is what I just said, is that if that's evidence, then what you're dealing with is English is not a language. Spanish is not a language. German, to be a language, you have to have a script specific to that language. English uses Greek script. Spanish uses Greek script. German uses Greek script. For instance, in English, blue, B-L-U-E. In Spanish, azul, A-Z-U-L. Same letters, they just changed them up a little bit. You see, pluma is pen in Spanish, P-L-U-M-A. In English, it's pen. Same letters, just rearranged differently as the language creates. Same thing with German. Same thing with Italian. Same thing with Portuguese. They all adapted from the Romans, the Greek script, because the Romans didn't have the language. They didn't have no letters. So the Romans enslaved the Greeks to teach them what the Cushites taught them. The Greeks taught the Romans something they never understood. And now here we are writing in English, and we don't even realize we're writing in our script. Evidence, because I'm into evidence. There is a book by Walter Williams. It's called The Historical Origins of Christianity. He has a chart in that book that will show you the Meduneter, the hieroglyphs, all the letters, all the pictographs, the hieratic. Then he'll show you the Greek. Then he'll show you the Roman characters. And you'll see where they all came from. We don't know how great we are. They done stole. The only thing that Indo-Europeans invented was the patent office and the Xerox machine.
Right.
Copycats. Master copycats.
That's it. And got it wrong. Even if you copied us, get it right.
Are they getting it wrong, or are they bastardizing it intentionally for their own use?
They're incompetent. I say 85-15. 15 is intentional. 85 is thorough incompetence. We have flipped it around. We give them too much credit. We flipped it around. We think all this, they're so smart, they're intentionally doing this. No, they're not. They're not bright at all. They're not bright at all. And I've been around them long enough, and in certain places where it's supposed to be impressive, I'm not impressed with them. I'm not impressed with them at all. That's why we're still in the position we're in. That's why when the virus hit one, nobody knew what to do, because they don't know medicine. Black folk are healers. They're not doctors. Black folk heal your mind, your body, and your spirit. Western civilization done broke everything up. So the person that administers to your spirit is called a pastor. A person that administers to your physical body is called like a medical doctor. And someone who administers to your mind is called a psychiatrist or a psychologist. In Africa, there was one person you went to, and that person healed your mind, body, and spirit, understanding the interconnectedness of that nature of who you are. Because if your mind ain't right, your body ain't right, and your spirit is going to be tripping. So in order to heal your physical body, they had to administer to your mind and to your spirit at the same time. And also, as it related to the spirit, if you had a spiritual challenge, they had to deal with your mental and your physicalness. We are a holistic people. We use both sides of our brain, left hemisphere, right hemisphere. This is why I have those series of webinars up, to talk about the brain and to understand what our ancestors. Everybody, this new age thing talk about I'm left hemisphere or I'm right hemisphere. Okay, it's called stereognosis. Stereo, and then gnosis is spelled G-N-O-S-I-S. It's a Greek word which means to know, and to know stereo, both sides. Your left side is analytical. This is where your mathematician is. It's where your scientist is. When you're reasoning a problem, that's your left hemisphere. Your right hemisphere is where your musician is, where your artist is, where all of those forces that are analogical or metaphoric come in. The left side of your brain only sees the trees in the forest. The right side of your brain sees the forest. What Africans did is that they looked at the trees in the forest, holistically speaking. And in order to do that, you have part of your brain right here at the top. It's called the corpus callosum. C-O-R-P. I'm a teacher, so I have to spell. C-O-R-P-U-S-C-A-L-L-O-S-U-M. Corpus callosum is a strip that goes back. It is what sends messages from your left hemisphere to your right hemisphere, goes back and forth. You analyze it holistically. Black folk are not left dominant or right dominant. Black folk, for the most part, were taught to be holistic, looking at it at the same way. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. First grade. I'm teaching students in first grade. We're doing basic 1 + 1 = 2. Okay? You give them homework assignment. You give them 10, 20 problems to do at home. Addition. What I used to tell them to do is, not only do I want you to solve the problem, I want you to draw the problem. I want you to draw 1 + 1 = 2. So they would do 1 banana plus 2 banana equal 1 banana plus 1 banana equal 2 banana. They would draw it. When they drew that banana, they were then taking information from the left side of their brain across to the right side of the brain by drawing. So I was having them do both. When I taught a course on Malcolm X in college, I had the students write. You asked me a question earlier, brother. I had them give me guideposts in their life, because we taught Malcolm. I taught Malcolm from the perspective who he was as Malcolm Little, who he was Detroit Red, who he was Malcolm X, and then who he was El Haj Malik El Shabazz. And then the fifth one was Omar Wale.
Omar Wale.
But he would never know Omar Wale. Omar Wale is the legacy that you leave behind that people will talk about. Malcolm never knew that they would name streets after him. Malcolm never knew that they would name schools after him. They never knew that they would put his face on stamps. Malcolm never knew that. That is the imprint you leave on the world after you have moved to the next level and join the ancestors. And I had my college students write guideposts in their life. Up until that point, 21, I said, I'm going to ask you to do 3, but if you don't have 3, like when you asked me and I told you about meeting Dr. Clark, I told you about the Black Panther Party, these were guideposts in my life. Teaching children, these were guideposts in my life. These were things that took me to the next level in my planning. And this is why, as a people, I wanted them to be able to write the guideposts of their life. What changed your life? Who did you come in contact with? What happened to you? Okay? It might not have been a person. It might have been an event. It could have been a visit that you made someplace. So you never know where these are going to come. But if you're aware of it, I then had them, I want you to write your eulogy. I want you to write, like Omar Wale, I want you to write your eulogy. I want you to write right now at 20, 21, 22 years of age. I want you to write for people, what do you want people to think of you when you're no longer here? And then my homework assignment was to put it away and read it when you're 50 years old and see how things have changed.
Yeah, I did something like that when I was about 18 years old. I was in shock camp. I was incarcerated in shock camp. And that was one of the things they had us do, write a letter to ourselves home about what our plans are and all of that when we get out and all that. And then when you get home, you know, after a certain amount of time, you're supposed to open it up and read it and kind of grade yourself on, you know, did you stick to your word?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Good job.
Yes, I did. Absolutely. I actually embraced that assignment. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't something they had to twist my arm to do. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm with this. You know what I'm saying? But Dr. Kaba, man, can we get deep a little bit?
Yeah,
Let's go deep. Let's go deep.
Oh
My
yeah.
sister-
Hey, you know James Brown, right?
Of
James
course.
Brown said, "I want to get down.
Yes, sir.
In order for me to get down, I got to get in deep." So let's go deep and get down.
My sister Crown 808 said, Dr. Kaba, can you please speak on the Dogon people? And I definitely want to hear you speak on the Dogons. I often listen to you. I even sitting here now, I almost forgot this is my show. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm so used to just sitting here watching and listening to you, soaking up the game. But you often talk about spirituality before religions, and you know how you were just comparing those two sides of everything, that duality of everything. And so, speak about the Dogons and the not the difference, but the fusion of science and spirituality, religion, and those type of concepts.
You know, the Dogon people in particular are very interesting. The reason why they come to us in that interest is because two French scholars went there and studied with them for years. But let's not make no mistake, the Dogon are not the exception for African people. They're the rule. You can go to the Bambara people. You can go to the Yoruba of Nigeria. You can go to the Akan of Ghana. You can go to South Africa. And you can come upon the people of Southern Africa. You can go to the Kuba people of Central Africa. So what I'm about to tell you is the greatness of a particular nation in a particular place in Africa. But this is replicated all over the place because, just to give you another aspect of the Dogon, Benjamin Banneker's grandfather was from the Dogon people.
What?
His name was actually Banaka, Banaka, Banaka. There's a book written on Benjamin Banneker that talks about the development of who he was as a person and how his grandmother, who was a woman of European descent, and his grandfather gave birth to a girl. That girl was Benjamin Banneker's mother. So that's the relationship. But the evidence of his by the name, his name is Charles Cerami, Cerami. Cerami. It's on Benjamin Banneker. There's a chapter in there dealing with his Dogon ancestors. But now, what are the Dogon known for? They're known for two things. Well, they're known for many things, but let's just look at the two that come to my mind. One is astronomy, and the other is agriculture. Looking at the heaven,
go together.
That's it. As above, so below. As you know the heaven, so do you know the earth. As above, so below. But what is Benjamin Banneker known for? He's known for astronomy and agriculture.
Yeah, because he did the what is that called? The almanac or something? Farmer's almanac? Yeah.
When today I was watching the weather report, and it said that as long as weather has been recorded, today was the hottest day around the world we've ever experienced.
Really?
Yeah, today was the hottest day in the world since recordings.
Didn't know that.
It's because of Benjamin Banneker they could say that. Because he was the one that began to record weather and agriculture, because that's what the Farmer's Almanac is. And so he began to look at measuring astronomy and agriculture and combining them too. Years later, there'd be another genius come around and be able to take that, implement it, and actually save the land of the South, Dr. George Washington Carver. Because that's what George Washington Carver did. But to go back to the Dogon people, and people say, okay, because it wasn't until 1971 when the Western world actually was able to see Sirius B, the small star. Okay.
1921?
1971.
1971. Sorry.
Was the first time they were able to actually see that star. From the 1800s, they knew that Sirius A, which is the main, it's big. That's what you see up in the heavens. Sirius. It's the tail of the dog. You know, it's up in the haunch, up here, and it's Sirius A. Really bright. It's one of the brightest stars in the heavens. They were able to see that, but they noticed that star wobbled. It shook. They didn't know why it was shaking. They knew something was out there. They didn't know what it was. It wasn't until 1971 that they could create the type of telescope that could block the light that Sirius A was actually emitting in order to see this little teeny star on the side. And that is the reason why Sirius A wobbled, was because of this little star off to the side, which is known as a dwarf star. Okay. The Dogon told Dieterlen and Griol that they actually saw the star and tracked the star and came to realize accurately that every 50 years to 60 years, it makes a total revolution around Sirius A. They knew it.
They've been knowing.
And they tracked it. Every 60 years, they had a celebration of this rotation. And in this celebration, they created a Kanaga mask. Kanaga. Kanaga. And they would have a ceremony celebrating the total revolution of Sirius A, Sirius B. Griol and Dieterlen were there for one of the celebrations. And at the end of the celebrations, the Dogon people would bring this mask into a special room and put it on a chair. They would make a chair for that specific mask. When Dieterlen and by the way, you can go and look at a book, Pale Fox. You can look at a book titled Conversations with Olga Temeli, who was the Hogan, which is like the leader of this particular group of Dogon people. You can go to my website and check out the numbers of videos I have streaming on the Dogon. But there's an entire curriculum that you go to my website, and I give you all the books you need to have, KABAKAMENE.com. But when they brought this particular mask in, they put it on a chair, and they said to Dieterlen and Griot, we only put 12. There were 12 chairs with Kanaga masks. Now, mind you, I told you every 60 years they did this celebration. So now what you got to do is you got to do the math, and you got to multiply 60 times 12. Okay? And then that way you can see 720 years was when this room was there. And they put the first mask in the year 720, give or take, in the room. That's during the Malinki Empire. They saw this star for 720 years. These folk, when Griol and Dieterlen did this, they didn't see the star because it wasn't 1971. This is going back. Griol and Dieterlen was there decades before 1971.
So did they even believe it at the time?
Well, they did a whole thing in the books. They'll show you how the Dogon actually tracked the stars at all of those years.
Wow.
So, I mean, this isn't made up. But now hold on, because that's good, isn't it? 720, they could see this invisible star. Griol and Didolin said, "You mean to say that you all have known this for 720 years?" They said, "Oh no, we've got 2 more rooms with 12 chairs each." So now you got 3 times 720. So family, what I'm saying in terms of okay, now here's the other thing about, and this I learned from Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. I went and studied in Mexico with Dr. Van Sertima in 1984. He brought 40 of us to Mexico to study the African presence in America. And in one of his presentations, he talked about what they call the night eye. Okay. And at this time, 84, I was a teacher. I was still a teacher working. So I wasn't aware. But right now, I've come to realize since I retired, I'm a night eye. My father is a night eye, was a night eye. My grandfather worked on the railroads in Alabama. He was a night eye. He operated at night. My father operates at night. I operate at night. I'm at my peak at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
From 2 o'clock in the morning till about 4 o'clock, that's my peak time. Sometimes I go to bed 8 o'clock in the morning. Get up about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm a night eye. Now, let's go back into science and look at the eye. You know, when you are in a dark room and someone turns on the light, you have to close your eye.
Mm-hmm.
Because your eye has to reduce, in the middle, your eye has to reduce a quarter its size to allow light to come in. Because in the dark, your eye opens up. Okay? When the light comes on, it's too bright, so your eye has to close. The pupil in that area there closes down a quarter of its size to allow light. When you close your eyes, you wait a while, you then open your eyes, and then you can see. But when the light first comes on and you're in the dark, complete dark, you have to, oh no, come on, the light. Okay. The ancient astronomers in Kush, Kemet, the Dogon of West Africa, the Bambara, Southern Africa, the astronomers lived at night. They never were in the, now remember, there's no lights and light bulbs and things like that at the time. They lived in the cliffs. They lived in the caves during the day. And then they would come out at night. So their eye was always open. And that's a telescope.
Mm.
I see better in the dark than I do in the light.
Right.
Because most of the time, outside of the light that I may have while I'm working, things like that, I'm in the dark. And most of my time, my eye is open. It's called a night eye. And that's how the Dogon were able to see that little star. That's how our ancestors were able to track the constellations in the heavens, because they only lived during the night sky, which meant that their eyes were always open. So they were walking telescopes. And that's what Benjamin Banneker was. And that's how we know that it was he that built Washington, D.C., because Washington, D.C. is built according to astronomical rules. They want to give the credit to Pierre L'Enfant. But they kicked Pierre L'Enfant off because he was a greedy man. He was also a liar. He was also an alcoholic. So a lot of times it was Benjamin Banneker that had to complete the work that Pierre L'Enfant got credit for.
Hmm.
But when Pierre L'Enfant was sent back to France, Benjamin Banneker continued the work. They say that Benjamin Banneker had a
photographic memory,
which is true. I can see that. But not just that, he was the one that had the astronomical knowledge to lay out Washington, D.C. Have you ever had to mail something to people in Washington, D.C. where you have to say northeast, northwest, southeast, or south?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why is because the Capitol building is a rotund pyramid.
Yeah.
And when you're northeast, there's a 9th Street northeast, there's a 9th Street southeast, there's a 9th Street northwest, and a 9th Street southwest. So that's why you have to be specific in the direction northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest, because the capital is adjusted, that Benjamin Banneker did specifically on the azimuth of east, west, north, and south. Not just that, he also built the obelisk that we call Washington Monument. He also built Lincoln Monument. Long before it was Lincoln's Monument, that was a temple built at the end of that whole garden from the Capitol building to Lincoln's Memorial. That had nothing to do with Lincoln. Benjamin Banneker was returning us back to the Kemetic legacy.
Right. Right.
That's why it's a perfect rectangle. The original Washington, D.C. was a perfect rectangle of 10 miles in length. And it was built, it cut away the Endicott brothers that hired these two individuals to do it. They cut it away from a place in Maryland that was called Columbia, Maryland. And that's why it's called a district of Columbia.
I always wondered that. I always wondered why they call it that. Wow.
Why don't we teach our children this in school?
But I did.
Are y'all hearing this, family?
Thank you.
We are chopping it up with Professor KABA KAMENE. Please hit that like button, family. Appreciate everybody tuning in with us tonight. We're not going to take up too much of your time, but let me see what I want to get to while we do have you here. Another thing that my sister Crown 808 wanted you to speak on is the science of dreams.
Yes.
Oh, we get deep now.
Take us there.
One thing I'd like to say, though, in fairness, is from my study, from our perspective, the only person that can answer your question about your dreams is you.
Okay.
I think a lot of people making money saying that they're going to decipher it. I mean, I could walk people through, but let me tell you one other thing. It is endowed in the feminine energy to be the oracle reader. Sisters are the oracle readers. That is who Nebetet is. She represents the oracle reader. It's a feminine energy. And we know it all the time because we say it. It's called, in our generation, in our world, it's called mother's wit.
Mm-hmm.
When mother or grandmother says, honey, don't take the bus today. I'm feeling so bad on that bus. Don't get on that bus. Or be careful with that person you've been hanging out with. I don't think they're up to no good.
Even little girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
My homeboy's daughter was warning us one night about going out one night, and she sure was on point.
Yes,
we should have never went.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know, I mean, that is a reality, and as Africans, we always knew this. Here's the gift that the brothers have. The brothers know who the oracle readers are. So if I needed to find something out, and if I was not quite adept at doing it, I could go to a brother that was adept, and he would say, yo, sister, NYC, she the one that can tell you about this. Talk to her. He then would call NYC. T-girl, am I right on that?
Nice tea.
Oh, nice tea. That's what it means?
Yes,
oh, nice
yes,
tea. Okay, nice tea, girl. I'm New York City, so I'm thinking New York City. Okay, nice tea, girl. Okay, I got you. And so he would call you, my sister, nice tea. And he would say, look, there's a brother going to contact you. This is forewarning. See, there's steps to doing this. There's a forewarning that a brother say, he's going to call you. He wants to talk to you about certain things. He hasn't spoken to me about it. I haven't spoken to him about it. All he knows is there's something I want to know, and I need somebody. He knows that you're the oracle reader. He'll say he's going to come. What you would do is that you would focus on that, and you would almost get through telepathy what it was he was coming to you for. See, I've had this happen to me. So I have a sense of how it works. Of course, the foods that we eat, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, a lot of the other things that we're going through, it's not always good. When we were back in our natural environment and we ate the right foods and we had the right, I follow Dr. Sabi. I've been with Dr. Sabi, now with Sister Ma'at, his wife, since 1988. When we're doing the right herbs, when we're associating with the right people, we have the right thoughts. We were more in touch with nature. We walk the earth without shoes. We let the soles of our feet touch the grass. You know, right now we burn our feet, you know, on the concrete and all the rest of that, you see. So there are limitations, there are challenges we have now, but there are still people that can break through. And so your dreams, only you know. This is why an oracle reader will walk you through your thoughts, your dreams, but also realize something else. Your night dreams prepare you for your daydreams. And your daydreams prepare you for your night dreams. Let me show you how that works as it relates to melanin. When the sun is no longer in the heavens, in your wherever you may be, your pineal gland creates a hormone known as melatonin. In the presence of the sun, your pineal gland creates serotonin. When your pineal gland is creating melatonin, it is preparing your pineal gland to create serotonin. So your night dreams and your daydreams are as related as melatonin is to serotonin. See, this is natural, family. This ain't no made up stuff. Mm-hmm. So that what's important is that when we were in our own environment, this is why they're trying to separate brothers and sisters from each other. This is why we are in relationships that because of our, see, ain't nothing wrong with black folk. Something happened to black folk.
Black people.
That separated us from our natural environment. Everybody talks about crabs in the basket. They talk about, well, okay, when crabs are in a basket, when that crab gets to the top, there's another crab going to pull that crab down. Okay? We're jealous of each other. We're envious of each other. We kill each other. We shoot each other. We say horrible things about each other. We cancel culture each other. But here's what I say. If you took that basket of crabs and returned it back to its original waters, crabs actually help each other in their natural environment. They stack themselves on top of each other. And the crab on top is the one that eats. And when the crab on the top has eaten sufficiently, it goes to the bottom and pushes the next group up so that the next eats. When that eats, it goes down, push the group up, the next one eats. So what I'm saying to us as a people, if we could understand this, we may conduct ourselves unnaturally, but it is natural to act unnatural in an environment that's unnatural. But if you took that natural entity and returned it back to its natural environment, it would be natural for it to act natural in its own environment. So this is why we have to return back to our natural way of thinking. Okay, we're in a superficial world. I understand that. But if I understood that when you contacted me and said, brother, let's have a conversation. Hey, when? Tell me when, what time we're going to do this. Because I realize that your success is my success. When you do better, I do better, automatically. That's how the society is structured. It's not like we competing with each other. Right. It's not about competition. The only competition I deal with is an inner competition. So that this morning when I woke up, I prayed that I would be a better person tonight than I was when I woke up. And when I go to bed, I ask the Creator and ancestors within to make me a better person tomorrow than I was the person that went to bed. So now you have the melatonin going to kick in when I close my eyes to prepare me for the serotonin in the presence of the sun. That serotonin is going to prepare me for the melatonin at night. And so therefore I am in league and in nature with who I am as a person. And so my dreams are healthy. My thoughts are healthy. And I think ma'at, I speak ma'at, and I do ma'at. Justice, balance, truth, harmony, order, arrangement, and my favorite one, reciprocity. Think about it. If you believed in reciprocity, if you believe that what go around come around, that you shall reap what you sow, how would you treat each other? And if you knew that what you did good would come back to you sevenfold, and what you did that was not good come back on you sevenfold, I think you'd think twice before you interacted with other human beings, knowing that what go around come around.
Right.
So what I do with you is going to come back on me. It's like I used to say, I'm like rubber and you're like glue. Whatever you do to me, going to bounce off of me and it's going to stick to you.
Right. So, I know Sincere was talking about winding down, but before we go, I wanted to discuss with you, we do have another election cycle coming around. Of course, the hot topic for us Black people is reparations. Your thoughts on, well, we don't know who our Republican nominee is going to be. I don't think. We have some people that are trying to run, but we know they ain't going to get it. We don't know. Did Trump throw his ticket in? I don't know.
Trump, yeah.
He did. Okay. So we have Trump and Biden again. You know, is a no vote to you an option?
Or it is an option.
Or a strategy.
It is an option. But, you know, Malcolm, towards the end of his life, as he began to transform, because I don't say he changed, he transformed. And he grew. And as he grew, he became wise to the world around him. For a man of 39, 38 years of age, this brother had intellectually jumped decades of wisdom in his experiences. And there was a reporter that was talking to him and said to, and they asked him, well, Mr. X, are you saying that Black people should vote? He said, no, I'm not saying that Black people should vote. I'm saying that Black people need to become sophisticated as to what politics is.
Yes.
And governance. And that out of that knowledge and wisdom, you need to raise up out of your own communities the people that you want to vote for. Because they are in tune, having gone through the educational system, spiritual system, the political system, that you have guided them to that point, and that they should govern you. This is an African tradition. He didn't say that, but I'm saying it. But what he's saying is that we need to become sophisticated. In order to win it, you have to be in it. And I say to people, I'm on my way out to war. On the table, there's a gun, a knife, and a pen. My question is, what are you going to do? Some people say, I'm going to take the gun. Okay. What happens when you run out of bullets? They say, okay, well, I'll take the gun and the knife. I say, well, that's good. What happens if you drop the knife? The point that I'm making is I take the gun, the knife, and the pen because the pen can become as much of a weapon. I don't leave nothing on the table by any means necessary. The vote, the one thing about military science is this. Look to your enemy and look at what he or she is trying to take from you. Because your enemy is going to attempt to take from you the one thing they fear the most that will allow you to defeat them. And so if they're taking your vote from you, you have to realize it has value. And by the way, family, it ain't about love. Politicians don't love you.
No.
You know something? I don't love them.
Right.
This is business. This ain't personal. I don't want to go eat in your house, and I'm not going to invite you to mine. My question to you is this. How do you feel towards reparations?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't answer that. I say, well, when you get the answer, come back and ask me for my vote.
Right.
Now I'm going to look at somebody else. And, Trump is crazy enough to offer black people reparations.
Yeah, I say the same thing.
I
say the same thing.
I say the
Listen,
same thing.
Trump loved black people. Trump said in the 90s in an interview, I saw it myself. He said if he could come back as anything in life, he'd come back as a black man. He said that.
They all would.
And that's the key. He loved the haters and he hate the love.
He just said it out loud. That's all.
And that's the bottom line. And you see, what we have to do is be analytical enough to play our game.
Right.
Okay. And to understand how to play this game. Okay. Because, brother named Herman Cain, remember years ago, 999.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, 98% of what that brother said, I don't agree with. But you know what I did agree with him with? Number one is that the Democrats got us in their pocket. And the second thing he said, is I wanted to sit with him and I wanted to figure out how that black man made Godfather Pizza one of the best pizza companies in the country after he took it over. I wanted to know his business acumen. I wanted to study what that brother did in business. See, with cancel culture, when someone comes to you that you don't particularly care for, you cut them out altogether. Oh, I don't like them.
Right.
But study them. There are some things about them you need to study. Herman Cain's business wisdom was powerful. The Democrats, you see, we have to remember it wasn't until 1858, I believe that was the date, or 48, the Democrats were racist enslavers.
Yep.
The Republican Party was formed to free Africans, not because they liked us, but because enslavement of Africans choked capitalism. Okay, because if you could buy somebody for $300 at one time, or pay somebody over 20 years $300 a year, if you're a business person, capitalistic speaking, thinking, what would you do? You would buy the person for $300 once. Why are you going to pay 20 times 300? And so what enslavement of African people did was to suffocate capitalism, which is competition. Because you ain't got no competition in enslavement. Because the African is already enslaved.
Right.
So that the Republicans wanted to free the Africans, not because they liked them, not to say there weren't some that may have had some guilty consciences. I don't speak in absolutes. So I'm not going to say it like that. But I ain't got time to look for good white people right now. Okay? I know you out there. And if you really want to help us, you better talk to them crazy people in your neighborhood. You don't need to be around us. I know what we got to do. You need to talk to them crazy people, and you need to talk to your Uncle Derek and get him to take his knee off black folk neck. You need to talk to your own people. But I do realize that I've had the pleasure of meeting good people in every culture. Not many, but I've had a chance to meet. So what they wanted to do was to end enslavement. And that's what they were going to do. Now, what people don't talk about is that there was a group of white slaveholders that created a group known as the Knights of the Golden Circle. And these folk were going to create a new country that bounded Texas and the southern part of the United States, go through Central America, through Mexico, through Central America, through the top of South America, into the Caribbean. And believe it or not, Cuba was going to become the capital of this new country where enslavement was legal. They were called the Knights of the Golden Circle. Don't believe me. Google it. In fact, if you want to see a movie about it, all you got to do is check out National Treasure Book of Secrets. Because that's what that story was talking about. It was talking about these groups of people that white slaveholders, and that's why Texas seceded from the nation. That's why they were going to secede from the United States, because they were going to legalize the enslavement of African people in what they called this golden circle. From Texas through Mexico, through Central South America, to the tip of South America, going parts of Brazil, around the Caribbean, and they were going to make, believe it or not, Cuba was going to be the capital.
Crazy.
Wow.
Don't believe a word I say. Google it. Wikipedia this. Okay? This is what they were doing, and this is why the Civil War took place, because the North saw what they were doing. And they say, well, they could take their raw materials and sell it to anybody they wanted to around the world. But the North was dependent on the raw materials of the South, because they were the industrial areas was up in the North, and the agricultural areas was down South. That would have choked capitalism and choked, because they said, you got to free your Africans because we got to get this cap. And the South said, I don't need you.
Right. Especially Texas.
Especially Texas. That's why they
still on that to this day.
To this day. And they fail at everything that they do. And they could not afford economically to survive on their own right now, because they get most of the money from the government that we're paying in our taxes goes to Texas. They could not afford to exist economically. It's what I call self-suicide. That's what happens when you're berserk. You begin to even realize that you can live after you kill yourself. And so this is what actually is happening in the world today as it relates to the past. It's still going on. So that as we move through this process, family, and we begin to see exactly what's going on with what's happening here, all we got to do is bring this around to understand what it is that we have to do. We are a great people, family. They're not going to get rid of us, because where would they get their next idea from?
Right.
We got to begin to go inward and begin to deal with each other. And begin to understand, like I asked the Bloods and the Crips, every chance I get, I say, I want you all to look at each other, face each other, and ask a simple question to each other. Are you my real enemy? And when you answer that question, you'll come to understand that you have a larger enemy that you got to deal with. And it's not each other. They got us fighting each other, arguing with each other. They got brothers and sisters at each other's throat. They done changed the music. I listened to the music that I grew up on. When something's wrong with my baby, something wrong with me, I love you I love you 1,000 times,
Right.
With this ring, I promise thee wed, Larry Graham, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson in America. Your love is but a mirage, where we was talking to sisters on a love note long before they were our bitches and our whores and our thoughts. Right. They were Emet Neset Waret. That's what we called our sisters. Emet Neset Waret. Which, if you metaphorically break it down, my brother Mfudishi Jitimus explained it to me. Emet Neset Waret metaphorically means the deep well of water that I return to when I'm parched by the desert. Okay, now, I know many of us have been thirsty, but not many of us have been parched by the desert. I've been to Egypt and I've been in the Sahara. I know what it's like to be parched by the desert. And when you parched by the desert, there's only one thing you're thinking about, and that's water. And so as we looked at our women, they were not just water. They were a well of water, which means you got a whole bunch of water. And not only were you a well of water, you were a deep well of water that I returned to when I was parched by the desert. So in my life, when something's wrong with my baby, something's wrong with me. When something's wrong with me, I realize that it's my sister who is my counterpart that's going to solve all my issues. It's she that I sit with and talk with and develop an understanding of what Black love really is. And sisters understand the role that the brothers play. So when I see a sister that say, I don't need a man, that tells me one thing. That tells me you ain't never had a good black man. Because if you ever had a good black man, no matter if it's 20 years ago, you'd at least know what a good black man can do for you. And when I hear a brother talk about a sister ain't no good, she just want my money, the only thing that's telling me is that you ain't never been with the proper black woman who ain't after you for your cash or your money or your prestige. She just loves you as her counterpart. And so I, as the Neset Biti, the one who has the right to rule, to look to my sister, who is my Hemet Neset Waret, who is that righteous deep well of water that I return to when I'm on the throne, because the throne is a feminine principle. It's Aset. Aset is the throne that a man sits on. And the image of Heru suckling at his mother Aset's breast is the idea of the male energy, getting energy and power from the life-giving fluids of the woman. This is what built pyramids. This is what created the types of relationships that we need as a people. And we need to start to get back to who we were before we were so rudely interrupted by Indo-Europeans who not only don't know who they are, they don't know who their mother is. And if you don't know the womb from whence you came, where are you going to go in your life? Brothers and sisters, we have to stop fighting each other. The greatest threat to white supremacy is black love. And I know.
You say that one more time, sir?
That the greatest threat to white supremacy is black love. The kind of black love, if I can give you an image of it, in the movie Birth of a Nation, the one that the brother did.
Nat Parker.
Exactly. Nate Parker, when that sister was brought up to the house to pleasure that white man, and her husband or her boyfriend or whoever it was who was in love with her and she with him was underneath the window looking up, knowing what was going on with that woman that he loved. And when she came out of that horrific experience, they embraced. And that brother was saying to that sister in the embrace, I know what you've been through, but no matter what you've been through, you're my woman. And that sister embracing that brother, saying, no matter what he did to me, you are my man. That's black love. And that's what we've been through for years and years and years and generations of being raped and pillaged. And yet still we're here. Still we have the capacity to love. As imperfect as it may be, we're trying to work towards perfection. And I think that as we move forward, we have to understand ain't nothing wrong with us. Something happened to us. And we just have to understand that we are a great people. And we've been through a lot. It's been one hell of an experience, to tell you the truth. But we're here. And if we do get into these black male-female relationship, conferences, please don't start with everything I hate about you. Start with everything I love about you, and then work towards the areas that we can improve. Let's do this right once and for all and understand what black love is and understand the greatest weapon we have is family. And when we have that family, it changes the cycle.
Man, it's great to hear you break that down that way. It definitely lets us know that we're on the right track, and what we're doing definitely has power. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why you see us two here, the Godcast family. You know what I'm saying? On the screen, you always have that balance of masculine and feminine. You know what I'm saying? I tried to do this by myself to no avail. I knew that I needed that divine feminine energy to accompany me so that we could really make it do what it do in Godcast fashion. Let me ask you this, Dr. Kaba. I don't think I ever heard nobody ask you, what does your name mean?
KABA KAMENE. I was born with the name Booker Taliaferro Coleman Jr. My father, Booker T. Coleman Sr., from Tuskegee, Alabama. He was named after Booker T. Washington. I was named after my father. I always accepted that name. It was part of going back to what you said. If the first thing that brought me to where I am was I was named after a very famous African-American, foundational Black American teacher. So that was my first move. I was named after somebody that was culturally put in place. However, I had a problem with the enslaver's brand on my name. And so in 2002, I began the process of correcting my name, not changing my name, correcting it. And in correcting my name, I decided that I was going to choose a name. I went to my shamans and my priests and priestesses. When you talk about male, female, went to both. And I was searching, and they told me to find a name that would be a verb and not a noun. Find a name that would describe what you have to do in life, not who you are in life. And so Ka-Ba, spirit, Ka-Ba, soul, the spirit of the soul. Hiawatha was an indigenous brother from the Mohawk Nation, northern New York, who brought the 5 nations that were warring with each other. Okay, up there, it was the Mohawk Nation, the Cayuga, the Seneca, the Oneida, and an Onondaga people. And they were fighting each other. They were killing each other. I tell this when I go to street organizations. I tell this story to sort of kind of help us understand certain things. And so what Hiawatha did was that he brought representatives of all 5 nations onto Onondaga territory, which is in the middle. And he said, you all have to get yourselves together because this was in 1000 AD now. This was like nowhere near 1492. This was 1,000 years that he was known as the dreamer. He said, I see a time where there'll be a greater enemy that will come upon us and you can't be fighting each other. So he took 1 arrow and he broke it. And then he took 5 arrows and he showed how hard it was to break the 5 together as opposed to how easy it was to break the 1. And so he brought people that had lost the most in all of the 5 nations, who had lost mothers, fathers, children. And he brought the communities together to watch. And he picked up a bush and he had them put their hatchets in the hole. And he put the bush over the hatchets. And he said, you'll go to war no more. That's where we get the term to bury the hatchet. Hiawatha. He brought together 5 nations, put them in unity, and they are now called amongst themselves, they call themselves the Haudenosaunee. Haudenosaunee. I'm a teacher, family, so I got to spell so that in case you want to research, you got the Haudenosaunee. And they created the great law of peace that they call Kaianerekawa. 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 This was the great law of peace. And they said, you'll go to war no more. He united his people. And by the way, the Kaianerekawa is what was plagiarized by the colonialists that we today call the Constitution.
Boy. I got that Xerox machine.
That's it. What they did was that they designed that all of the 5 nations, the Oneida, the Onondaga, the Mohawk, Seneca, and the Cayuga, by numbers of population, you would send somebody according to how many people you had there to a central location on the Onondaga territory where you would share and talk about your mutual needs, wants, and possessions. And you'd share the 5 nations. And out of all of and they call them sachems, SACHEMS, sachems. And out of these sachems, they would identify one person per nation that would sit on the Great Council. Now, the sachems is what is called the House of Representatives. And the Great Council is what's called the Senate. There was no president. This is how you know this ain't no democracy. Because if this was a democracy, Congress would run things. Okay? So, KAMENE. That's my last name. KAMENE. Ka is spirit. Mene is the uniter of the 2 lands. Shmatawi. Mene, Menefer. He was considered to be the first pharaoh of the first dynasty. Mene. The spirit of Mene was the uniter. HIAWATHA was the uniter. KABA is the soul, is the spirit of the soul of the uniter of America and of Africa.
Wow. Really?
So now when you ask me what does my name mean, when you call my name, you remind me not who I am, but what I got to do.
What you must do.
And what I must do is unite our people. Bury the hatchet. Put away your guns and join forces, male and female, brothers and sisters in unity. And so when you call my name, you remind me what my divine destiny is, which is to unite our people through education.
And you are doing that, brother. You are definitely doing a great job living out that purpose, walking with that title. You know what I'm saying? Because just watching you, studying you, reading some of your stuff, that's exactly who you are. That's exactly what you do. You know what I'm saying? Even, you know, when this whole conversation came up about foundational Black Americans and delineation and all of that discussion that we're having now. And I've watched you in different interviews speak on that issue and how it's not really a contradiction. You know what I'm saying? How there's a continuity with us being an African people and us still being foundational Black Americans with a unique history. You know what I'm saying? And I've heard you break that down with, you know, great nuance to where a baby should be able to understand that. So
absolutely.
We thank you, man. You're a great scholar. You're a historian. You be dropping science. You got it all together, man. We love it. And we love you.
You know, and not just that, but just a pleasant person to be around. You know, we were talking yesterday, I believe, and we were talking about energies. And I've actually, you know, graced you several times here in LA, of course, Dallas, DC. You know, I be in the mix a little bit, you know, when I can get a chance to get in your, you know, presence and your spirit, the spirit of your family. Everything is amazing. You don't get that eerie, you know, feeling. My grandmother will always tell us, you know, be careful. She will always talk about it as it pertains to babies. You know, if your baby is constantly crying with someone, that means that person may not have a good spirit, a good energy. So don't force it. You know what I mean? And so I've always kept that in the back of my mind when I have my own children. If they cry too much with certain people, not to force it, you know, that around them. But again, coming around you, your spirit and the spirit of your family is just amazing. Yeah, it's just, you feel it. I don't know. It's just good. You just feel the energy of love. You know, I definitely feel the love when I come into your presence, the way that you speak to us. You look at us in our eyes and you speak with so much compassion for us. And that's what I appreciate. You don't talk down, you know, even when you're talking about uniting us and what we need to do as, you know, Black people, you don't say it in a downgrading way. You know, you say it in love, and I receive it in love. And I just want to thank you again, you know, for coming on tonight and giving us your wonderful, gracing us with your wonderful presence. Thank you.
And may I also just congratulate you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Because together we can make this happen. What you're doing is revolutionary in nature. This is going into the Akashic records for all time and space. To be able to come on and to be able to have this type of conversation to impact our community. Together, we can make this happen. So I've been looking forward to this conversation. And I have to say, I was expecting only the best. And I have to tell you, it has surpassed the best. So I just want to thank you for this opportunity. So that as I put my head on my pillow tonight, I'm a better person that woke up this morning for having had this conversation with some phenomenal Blacktastic people like you. So thank you for this opportunity.
I was nervous. I didn't want to disappoint you.
Everybody in the chat is thanking
I
you.
didn't want to babble too much. I babble a lot. I'm not going to lie. I'll start babbling. And even when I was talking to you about...
She hard on herself. She hard on herself. She does great.
I am my worst critic. But I think that's good because, every day I want to get better. You know what I mean? And so talking to someone like you, and you always giving us positive, affirmations and reinforcement, this just shows me, I am on the right path. And every day, as I continue to do it, I will continue to get better. So,
and myself also.
Thank you, KABA.
And the more I learn how much more I have to learn.
Right.
One of the greatest entertainers of all time, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best, if not the best to me, was a brother by the name of Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, yeah, Sammy.
Sammy Davis Jr. did everything. He could play instruments. He could dance. He could sing. He could, Gregory Hines, at the eulogy of Sammy Davis Jr. when he joined the Ancestors, he said he remembered as a child because Gregory Hines belonged to a group called Hines, and Dad. It was his brother and his father. They were dancers. They were tappers. They did a lot of things, sang, did everything. And they many times would be on the same program as Sammy Davis Jr. as children. And at the eulogy, Gregory Hines told a story about Sammy Davis Jr. that whenever Sammy Davis Jr. would play the Apollo Theater and would have 3 shows, he never did the same show 3 times. He would come on and he would play instruments, 1 show, drums, everything. He would just play instruments. He would come on and then do song and dance. And then he'd come on and do interpretations of famous stars. And he would tell jokes. He was very funny. And he would tell life stories. And what Gregory Hines said is that in the audience of all of his shows was the very best in those areas that was studying him. So when he was dancing and singing, the best dancers and singers of all different cultures would be in the audience watching him. When he was doing instruments, all the saxophone players, the drummers would be in the audience watching Sammy Davis Jr. When he'd be doing impersonations and comedy and just talking, people that were in that genre would be there listening to learn from him. He was the best of the best in everything. He was a multi-genius. He was an Imhotep. But now, let me tell you this, and I'll tell you something about me, because I learned something from him, and I've always kept it very close to me. They interviewed him one time, and I saw this interview. I was young. And they said, keeping in mind what Gregory Hines said about him, they said to him, Mr. Davis, I know you just step out on that stage and you just do all this. He said, you must have a whole bunch of confidence. And he said, I never step on the stage without butterflies in my stomach. He said, because the day I walk out on the stage with butterflies in my stomach is the day I'm going to make a mistake. I always come out understanding that anything can happen, and I better stay on my P's and Q's and on my A game all the time. And even preparing for this, I had butterflies in my stomach because I've always realized that we're talking to a genius people. And I've always understood that our people are geniuses like they're diamonds in the rough. We're all diamonds in the rough. We're all perfecting ourselves. We're all getting ourselves together. And then I'll just say this, connecting what Gregory Hines said about Sammy Davis Jr., how Sammy Davis Jr. replied to that question about how confident he must be when he goes out and does all that. He said he always had butterflies in his stomach. He never took anything for granted. I never take anything for granted. And I always believe that when I step out, you got to be on your A game. When I was young, there was a brother, Mr. Andrade, father to our friend. We had a friend, Andrade. And to keep us out of trouble, his father started a track team in the projects where I grew up. And we go over to Central Park and we run, okay? And we would compete. And the one thing Mr. Andrade always told us is that whenever you get into the starters blocks and that whistle or whatever goes off and you start your race, don't ever look around to see where your competition is. Because the moment you look around, you slow down. He said, if you step in the block on your A game, you don't ever have to worry about your competition because you're on your A game. Always be on your A game. And if by chance somebody should win over you, don't be upset. Be happy because they gave you a chance to perfect your game.
Right.
Indeed.
So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, master teacher.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh man, this has come to an end, family. we gotta let the professor go. Again, thank you guys for joining us, liking, sharing, subscribing, all of that good stuff. Dr. Kaba, let everybody know where they can follow you and how they can support you, your website, all of that stuff.
Absolutely. And I thank all those that follow and support us in this work that we do. It really helps us go to Dallas to do what we're doing. Because when we went to Dallas, we spoke at the Pan-African Connection.
Yeah.
Cool. He gave us a chance to check. And then we went to Fort Worth and we spoke at the Doc Bookstore.
Oh, man, we didn't get to talk about the Lake Lanier.
Oh, yeah.
Film you just did with your son. There's a couple
of
I know.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it gives us a reason to get back together again in the near future.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's all good. But your support helps us. And may I speak not just for myself, but for all the other scholars that are out here doing this work, who have dedicated their life to bring knowledge and wisdom. And I know that, and I don't mean to take anything away from entertainers or from sports people, because people making money on them, they deserve every penny they get.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to make knowledge and wisdom worthy of support financially.
Yes.
So that when you support the scholars that are out here doing this work, you support the work they're doing. And as you support them, they support you, bringing this information to you in whatever way that they can. So my Instagram page, KABA KAMENE, KABA KAMENE, KABA KAMENE. That's my Instagram page. I use that as my community bulletin board. Heru Neset is the one that manages my bulletin board. He's the one that puts up the posts and the things that drive the program that we're doing together. My website, www.kabakamene.com, KABA KAMENE, is where you can go to my site. You get a free e-course and a free study guide. And in that study guide, it's 44 pages. It's got all the information that you would need to understand what it is. So if you're wondering, well, what books on the Dogon? I got those books there and I've got the pages to read. If you're wondering about how life came out of Africa, I've got the information there, the books that you need to read. If you need to look at all sorts of different conceptual frameworks, Africans in America, Africans in Europe, the information is there. www.kabakamene.com.
And Sincere has it on the screen, you guys. He's going through it, as you guys can see.
And I've got things up there with a price, and I've got things up there without a price.
Yep.
Because I understand what we have to do as a people. Trying to make a living, not a killing.
Oh, my bad.
I'm trying to make it so that I can travel and bring to you mini documentaries, webinars, quibinars. To do that, it takes financial backing.
Yeah, the books, everything.
Yeah, the books, my first book is William Leo Hansberry,
Got the
Second book is
children's book there
Spirituality
too.
Before Religions. Shabaka Stone, and then the brothers holding up Shabaka Stone for children, because I said there was such profound information in Shabaka Stone, I wanted to share it with the children. And then I've got a family copy of Shabaka Stone also, so that as we move forward, and I'm now finishing up. I'm technically finished my next book, which is on melanin. It's called Carbon Before Melanin, because Dr. Sebi, when I was going to Dr. Sebi, he would come to some of my presentations on melanin. And when I would go to the Usha Herbal, and by the way, the Usha Herbal Institute, where I used to go on Pacific Street, is exactly where Barclay Center is in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
616 Pacific Street. And he used to come to my presentation. He said, Booker T, you're always talking about melanin, but carbon came before melanin. So that's the name of the book, Carbon Before Melanin. God's on Earth. God's on Earth in terms of the possessive, God''S, on Earth. God is on Earth. Okay, but at the same time, God's on Earth is you and us, because each one of us is the creator having a human experience. So
that double entendre.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. God's. I should say. I say creators on Earth.
And thank you, some chick named Star. She put all the links and all of that inside the live chat for you guys. You know, we got off to a little weird start today, so I didn't have the banners and everything set up. But Star's dropping all the links to everything that's important from this conversation in the live chat. And I'll put the links in the description for people who are checking this out on the replay also.
And so, before we end, I don't want to end without ending on God Fast,
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure you don't end it before I do that.
No. We could definitely do that now. But in the beginning, I wanted to play the song Flowers, because I'm an MC too. I'm a hip hop artist, Dr. KABA. And on our recent project, The Master's Table, and you supported us at the expo too. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But one of the songs that we have on there is called Flowers. And it was a continuation from a record that we did on our previous project. The title of that song was called Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. And the song was dedicated to her specifically, but we were shouting out a lot of the ancestors who made their transition on that record. And so this time on the song Flowers, we wanted to give praise and props to those that are still here amongst us, still doing the work. And you are definitely one of those, and we definitely shouted you out on the record. And so I wanted to play it in the beginning, but as we close out, I'm going to let this record play. You can stick around to check it out. If you got to go, that's fine also. But go ahead, Nicely. You can close it out, and then I'll play the record.
But may I say one thing?
Go ahead.
Trust me, brother. Haruna said, played your piece throughout our time and down. I can almost recite it myself. And I appreciate what you said about Sister Muhammad also.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
when
sir.
You shouted out to her, but she joined the ancestors between then and when you had produced your piece, and you even included that in the piece. So, brother, believe me, I can sit and recite this. I ain't going nowhere. I'm listening. So,
all right. Well, close us out, Nicely. Godcast fashion. You know how we do.
Thank you. So, Dr. KABA, again, thank you so much for joining us on the Godcast tonight. We do appreciate your time. We appreciate the work that you do for us, with us, and we also appreciate your love. Before we end for the night, I have to ask you two more questions. What does freedom and power mean to you?
Freedom is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the least restrictive environment. Power is the ability to define your reality, accepting the fact that it's your definition.
No sound effects, Sincere?
I don't have it. I don't have it.
That was the time for the button.
I just got off the highway. I just got off the road.
Right. Well, family, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and end this broadcast tonight with Flowers from the Master's Table album. You guys can download that album, order that album online, www.themastersrsvp.com. Again, that's www.themastersrsvp.com, and you can also stream the music on all digital platforms.
Yes, indeed. And always remember, family, as we close out, we are not the master teachers. Nicety Girl and Sincere Love to God, this not including Dr. KABA, but Nicety Girl, Sincere Love to God, we are not the master teachers, but we are the master
students.
And signal voices of the new Black media. Peace and black love.
Black love.
And let me see some flowers in the chat as we let this joint rock out.
It is. You live in direct relation to the poets, the heroes, and the sheroes you have. Always honor the elders. Then you honor yourself. Honor women. You honor yourself. Honor men. You honor yourselves.
Yeah, because, you know, RP, we gotta pay homage to the ones that's still here too, you know. RP to the ancestors and all that, but what about the ones that's still here? We gotta talk about that. Give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Listen. Minister Farrakhan, I'm glad you're still here with us. Anthony Browder, I'm so glad you're still here with us. Dr. Anderson, I'm glad you're still here with us. Nelly Fuller, I'm glad you're still here with us. Want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Just want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Just want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Just want to give them their flowers. Listen. To all the warrior scholars we call master teachers, all the oracles, prophets, before you pass, I need to give you your roses, a way to let you know that your work wasn't in vain. A new generation of soldiers was birthed through you. I would lift the entire earth for you, 6 octillion tons. All I got is this verse for you. Ain't wanna wait until you transition to build an altar for you or make a record when you can't listen. Your life's mission's more important than that. And matter of fact, I know it's even more important than rap, but this is my way to immortalize and make your name fortified, codified in hip-hop culture even before you die. We see through all the lies. We reaching for the skies, but not for mystery guards. We know the guards inside. We read the literature. We listen to the lectures. Now we signal boost all the wisdom you manifested. Shahrazad Ali, so glad you still here with us. Baina Bello, I'm so glad you still here with us. Queen of Fua, I'm glad you still here with us. Ava Muhammad, I'm so glad you still here with us. Want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Just want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Just want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Just want to give them their flowers. Listen, if I forgot to say your name, blame it on the brain and not the heart. The best part is how you made it plain to feel Valentine's. I feel that inclined to give honor to Dr. KABA, the masterminds, Professor James Moss, Dr. Joy DeGroot, an Ice Cube, middle finger to the boys in blue. Shout out to KRS, shout out Professor Griff. No perfect messengers, there's only perfect messages. Hands off Asada Shakur and Free Matulu. Respect the chairman O'Malley, yeah, we scream Yahuvu. I got a bouquet of flowers for Dr. Bill Cosby. Welcome home, beloved, I know they real salty. Who turned the Breakfast Club up to 1,000 degrees and spoke nothing but the truth to the powers that be? We all got a good laugh from all of the memes, but even Umar Johnson get his flowers from me. Just want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Just want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Just want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. Just want to give them their flowers. Yo, RP. Dr. Minister Ava Muhammad. She made a transition before we got a chance to get this song to y'all. But it was written before the transition. So I had it in mind, I had it in my heart. Rest in power, Queen.
We are the mothers and fathers of civilization. The black man is a god. He is the maker. He is the owner. He is the cream of the planet Earth. He is God of the universe.